Welcome along to Snetterton for round 9 of the 2017 Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup Championship. A strong driver lineup amongst the entry list, which sees Christian England teamed up with Andrew Evans, Tony Wells and Matt Bell in the pair of United Autosports cars. Mike Newbold rejoins Tom Randall at the wheel of the number 72 Douglas Motorsports car, and Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig with their Ecoria Cos example could mathematically claim the championship this weekend. The number 96 Speedworks car this time has Devon Modell making his debut in the championship, teamed up alongside Jack Butel.
This is one of my onboard laps from qualifying, so I'm going to talk you through a lap of Snetterton. So just starting the lap, for whatever reason we always try and hug the pit wall. I think it's just to sort of wave to the people, drift out wide, and then you're looking for a bit of a dab on the brakes, carry some speed, and then pick up the throttle as soon as you can. It's probably a bit tight on the exit there. Braking late into turn 2, sometimes first gear, sometimes second, not quite sure on that one. Turn 3 is an enjoyable corner. You really want to launch it in, try and carry some apex speed, and then drive out and maximise the exit. Coming down into the hairpin turn 4, then it's a heavy brake and turn in, and you're really looking to stop, V the car and fire it out and try and maximise that next part of the straight. Then roll it in through Hamilton and pick up the throttle early. Car feels great through there. And then brake, pick up the apex curb, and then get on the throttle early, coming into one of the most important corners. So I didn't quite maximise that. I really need to roll a bit more speed in. And then you're into the back straight. So you have some time to think about how late you're going to brake, as close to the bridge as you possibly can. And then you brake through here and try and keep the car as tight to the left, pick up the exit curb, and then fire it out. Bomb hole, you really want to turn in early and use the camber. I probably could have maximised the exit there a bit more. And then Curram's awesome. I mean, you really can hold the speed here, and then it's all about picking a braking point, getting the car turned, roll the speed in, and away you go. So then it's waiting for the lap time to appear, trying to maximise everything, see the checker flag, and see where you finish.
We've seen some great battles for pole position in the 2017 Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup Championship season, but at Snetterton for race 1 of the weekend, just 5/1000ths of a second was the margin that gave Christian England pole position.
Yes, pole position, best place to start for the race late this afternoon. I only jumped in the car this morning. I'm filling in this weekend for CJ Wilson, who unfortunately can't make it this weekend. So I've not done many laps, so the first qualifying session there was really a bit of a practice session, if I'm being honest. We've improved since this morning, and I think we can improve again for the race and hopefully improve the lap time.
0.005 of a second is an incredibly small gap, so you must be pleased to just nip it at the end.
Yeah, it's a very small gap. I'm not quite so sure how much of a gap it is in terms of millimetres, but it can't be very much. But nevertheless, P1 is P1.
Let's have a look at the grid for the first race of the weekend. Then the number 2 United Autosports car, started by Christian England, sits on pole position, but just 5/1000ths of a second slower in qualifying was the number 96 Speedworks car that will be started by Devon Modell. Row 2 of the grid is the second of the 2 United Autosports cars, number 3 Tony Wells, and they've got championship leaders alongside. Car number 79 will be started by Alistair McCaig. They could mathematically win the championship this weekend. And the third row of the grid is the number 72 Douglas Motorsport car of Mike Newbold. The cars are on their final warming up lap. The lights go out and we're away and racing at Snetterton. A great start from Christian England from pole position, but a fantastic start from 4th up to 2nd by Ritchie's Corner for Alistair McCaig, the Scotsman, absolutely flying in the Ecoria Cos supported Nielsen prepared car as they head on the brakes, turn their way through Wilson for the first time. The first 3 breaking away from Tony Wells and Mike Newbold, who almost got themselves together there coming in towards Wilson. Tony Wells rally crossing his way back onto the tarmac and has now dropped towards the tail end of the field as the main pack turn their way through the left-hander at Palmer and start to stretch their legs up towards Agostini, with Christian England opening up a bit of a gap between himself and Alistair McCaig in second place. Devon Modell, who was a runner-up in the British GT Championship a few seasons ago, but has been concentrating on racing sporadically in Europe and Asia over the course of the last season or so. He sits there in that black and red Speedworks number 96 car in third position. So safely through Hamilton, onto the brakes, down through the gears, in towards the right-hander at Oggies. They work their way for the first time, with Mike Newbold just that little bit further back in fourth position at the wheel of the Douglas Motorsport car. So onto the Bentley straight go the lead trio. Christian England leading the race. We've seen this several times so far this season, where Christian England has led the race and built up the advantage, but himself and Andrew Evans just haven't had the roll of the dice throughout the course of this season, which means that they unfortunately have not finished at all, even on the podium, let alone grabbing a race victory. It is the fast-starting Alistair McCaig in second place, and that car there, Devon Modell, making his debut in the championship, sitting there in third position. So they flash their way through the never-ending, daunting right-hander at Corham, try and straighten the car up before you then head onto the brakes and in towards Murray's. Whilst this car here, Tony Wells, there are definite problems with that number 3 United Autosports car. I'm not sure whether there was a bit of contact at the second corner or not, but whatever it is, Tony Wells is really struggling and is somewhat hampered with the handling of that car, and surely he will be destined for the pits at the end of the lap. So safely up towards the braking area for Wilson for the second time, order remaining the same. Top 3 still pretty much tied together. Still Christian England leading, and Tony Wells, yes, is indeed destined for the pits. The number 3 United Autosports car that has claimed wins so far this year, was lying second in the championship standings, has now given a huge opportunity to the car in second place. The car driven at the moment by Alistair McCaig will be handed over to Colin Noble for them to mathematically wrap up the championship this weekend, because the last thing that Tony Wells and Matt Bell wanted was a problem, least of which early on in the race, and second of which could potentially cause a retirement for that car. So down the Bentley straight goes our race leader. United Autosports lead from the Nielsen prepared Courier Cost supported car. The Speedworks machine there, the black and red car of Devon Modell in third position. He will hand the car over to Jack Butel, who's done the full championship season with the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3. A range of different drivers have shared the car with him throughout the course of this year, including Dean Gibbs and Scott Mansell and Andrew Bentley, and now for this weekend, Devon Modell, who is thoroughly enjoying his first weekend of racing these P3 cars and is getting ever closer by the look of things to the coattails of the championship leading car, Alistair McCaig, looking as though he's just lost maybe half a car length over the course of this lap. This is just allowing Christian England to pull away in the lead of the race, but the battle for second and third is most certainly on Alistair McCaig under a raft of pressure from Devon Modell.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as I imagined it was going to go this weekend. Car was good in qualifying. It was right on it. I don't know, we had a small oil leak before the start, and then I was driving to the line, and there was a lot going on. We were very slow to at the start, and I got a oil warning light, which I reset, and that seemed okay. And then when I accelerated, when we all went, car just had no power, and then as I turned into turn 1, I had no steering, so I'm thinking maybe has the front suspension failed, and then it was like, okay, maybe it's the power steering's failed. But anyway, it turns out that the belt snapped on the oil pump, so that was, and that then takes the power steering out and probably the engine as well. So
such a shame for Tony Wells and Matt Bell, particularly so early on in the race and so early on in the weekend, a weekend which is pivotal to their championship aspirations. Well, no points in this one for them, and at the moment their main championship rivals in the championship leading car is in second position in the hands of Alistair McCaig, but under pressure by the look of things from Devon Modell, who is not going away at the wheel of the number 96 Speedworks car. So through Ritchie's corner the two of them go, all of the time whilst Christian England starts to increase the amount of daylight between himself and this squabbling pair that sit behind. And whilst Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble, even if they win this race, mathematically couldn't claim the championship in race 1 of the weekend, a good haul of points would make it very, very easy for them in race 2 of the weekend. However, at the moment, Devon Modell is not making it easy at all for Alistair McCaig. Here's the race leader down towards the bottom of the straight. Then the big gap before second and third, still very much together. Lights ablaze for the car in third position, Devon Modell. He sits directly behind Alistair McCaig. We've seen Alistair out racing in the British GT Championship previously. Devon Modell was a former runner-up in the British GT Championship for TF Sport in an Aston Martin a few seasons ago, and making his debut in the championship, he's driving superbly well through the right-hander at Coram. They'll go up towards a break here for Murray's, and he jinks out from behind, up the inside at Murray's with a great late braking manoeuvre from Devon Modell, who goes through to take up second place. Alistair McCaig, though, fighting back as they come onto the centre straight. Devon Modell is on the right-hand side of the circuit. He'll have the inside line for the next right-hander at Ritchie's corner and should hang on to it unless McCaig can sweep his way around the outside, and that would be very brave when he's got a championship to think about. No, he decides that discretion is without question the better part of valour and just opts for the moment to settle in back behind. So back down to third goes Alistair McCaig, but there's still plenty of the race to go, and join us for more after the break. Welcome back to Snetterton, where Christian England leads the race as he heads over the start-finish line in the LMP3 Cup. Devon Modell, the number 96 car, in second place, and since dropping from second down to third, Alistair McCaig at the wheel of the Okuriakos number 79 car has just lost a little bit of ground. Now, that may be to do with the pace that he's got in the car at this stage, and some of it might just be mentally knowing the fact that they lead the championship and their main championship rivals retired on the very first lap of the race, and all he needs to do is get a good handful of points here, and it makes race 2 of the weekend very easy for them to potentially walk away from Snetterton with 2 races to go, being crowned the inaugural champions. Christian England still continuing round. Over the start finish line he'll go. He will hand the car over to Andrew Evans before too much longer in this race, but up the centre straight he goes, and the pit window is now open. We have seen regularly this year Christian England go a long way into the pit window before he's headed into the pit lane. Is he going to do the same this time through, because he's got a comfortable advantage between himself and Devon Modell in second place? And we wait the arrival of Alistair McCaig now through what will be Coram, and you can see, yeah, he's ever further back, isn't he, in third position. Is he going to opt to come into the pits and hand it over to Colin Noble, who has really driven superbly well throughout the course of this season? No, for the moment, Alistair McCaig still stays out there, back over the start-finish line. He will go on to another 3-mile lap of the Snetterton circuit, as into the pit lane comes Christian England, handing the car over to 19-year-old American driver Andrew Evans. So out jumps Christian. In will jump Andrew, and then they'll wait for the clock to tick away to the full duration before then that car is released back into the race. But a great stint having been put in by Christian England. He must be very pleased indeed with his efforts, as Andrew Evans now gets on board for part 2 of the race. Let's catch up with some of our drivers in the pit lane.
Yeah, obviously I got a good start. I could see in the mirrors that I gapped the cars 3 or 4 car lengths, and it took some pulling away, I have to say. The number 96, as you say, was running good lap times. I think we were both getting quicker and quicker throughout the stint. The Pirelli tyres really hold up well, so as the fuel load drops, the lap time drops. You don't really get much tyre degradation, so we was both getting quicker and quicker, as I'm sure the field was. But yeah, I think I was steadily going away. So I've pit now and handed over to Andrew, and let's see where he can bring the car home.
No, it was good. Had a bad start, lost a place at the start, made a mistake just before the start line coming out the last corner, and it was then playing catch up from then on. Caught, I think, Alistair up in the cross car and had a bit of a cat and mouse chasing him, and then eventually got past him through Coram, and then I think Christian out front, who was matching him lap for lap, and the gap was just sort of staying steady. Struggled towards the end because we lost radio communication, so it was a bit of shouting backwards and forwards, hoping that one of us heard each other about when we have to pit. But no, it was a good first stint.
Pretty straightforward. Got a good start actually. Jumped Tony and Devon Modell got up to second. Didn't quite have the pace of Devon at the start, but held him off for 10 or 15 minutes, and he got by me at Coram. But it was a case of then just getting the head down and managing the gap to Christian and Devon in front. Colin, you know, it's just got to manage his pace now and bring the car home. And we need to finish this race. We're now in first, so it's imperative we do that for the championship.
So you're not worried about that?
So with all of the mandatory pit stops now having taken place, that includes the driver changes. It's this car here, the number 2 United Autosports car, that's in the hands of Andrew Evans that leads the race. The teenage American driver looking to build on the advantage that Christian England built up in part 1 of the race and see whether he might be able to get that car on the podium for the first time so far this year. They've not really had the rub of the green, unfortunately. They've had the pace, but just haven't as yet featured on the podium. They lead the race, and this is the gap between themselves and the car in second position, which is Colin Noble. who has just taken over that car from Alistair McKay. This car here has also now been vacated by Mike Newbold. It's in the hands of the very rapid Australian driver Tom Randall, and I'm sure the car will come alive in part 2 of the race. So Tom Randall, who has converted over from single-seaters, the BRDC Formula 3 Championship, into prototypes, has already on his first flying lap almost just posted the fastest lap of the race we've seen so far. So really is starting to push on. And as for the lead of the race, well, the battle is beginning to close up now. I think that Colin Noble is just taking a bit of time out here from Andrew Evans, so chipping away at the advantage that was built up. And are we going to see the Ecuria car go through potentially and take up the lead of the race? Well, Andrew Evans will do everything about it to try and hang on to this advantage. And as they turn their way through Coram, there's the gap between first and second, ever diminishing between the pair of them. Onto the brakes, through the left-hander at Murray's, then over the start-finish line to start yet another 2.96 mile lap here of the Snetterton 300 circuit in beautiful sunshine, very warm conditions for the drivers, but all of them driving superbly well, not least of which Colin Noble, who is hunting down race leader Andrew Evans as they turn their way round through Ritchie's corner. There's a little bit of dust on the exit, and the reason being that Andrew Evans has run wide by the look of things. The race-leading car facing the wrong way on the circuit on the exit of Ritchie's corner, and he's spun away the lead, which means that Colin Noble now takes up the lead of the race. Himself and Alistair McKay leading the championship, their main championship rivals having retired on the very first lap of the race, and if they now stay where they are in the lead of the race, they will literally just need a handful of points to be the inaugural LMP3 Cup champions. But there's still a few laps of this race to go, and of course there's still race 2 to consider of the weekend. They have been an unbelievably consistent pairing over the course of this year. They've finished either first or second in every single race that we've seen so far throughout the course of the season. As we ride on board now with the very rapid Australian driver Tom Randall as he heads up towards the bomb hole. Safely through the fast right-hander at the bomb hole, then it's the daunting, never-ending right-hander at Coram that will bring him in towards the braking area for Murray. So try and straighten the car up, hard on the brakes, down through the gears, in towards the left-hander at Murray's. Pick the throttle up as soon as you can, up through the gears, and a lap about to be completed. Beautiful background note of the 420 brake horsepower Nissan V8 engine that propels all of these cars in the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. Down through the gears, in towards Ritchie's goes Tom Randall, and the charging Aussie has just posted another new fastest lap of the race as he heads up towards the braking area for Wilson. So through the right-hander, Andrew Evans is a long way up the road in third, so I don't think it's going to get any better than fourth place, but it's not stopping Tom Randall trying, is it, as he heads through Palmer. Through the left-hander, as our race leader is now heading up towards the braking area for the left-hander at Agostini on the final lap of the race. So for Colin Noble, all he needs to do is safely stroke the car home. He's heading round through Coram in towards the braking area for Murray's, and this is going to be the 6th win of the season for the pairing of Colin Noble and Alistair McKay, and that surely puts at least one hand on the inaugural LMP3 Cup Championship trophy, because all they need are just a handful of points in race 2 of the weekend to become the first ever champions in the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. They come through to claim their 6th win of the season. Second place should be Devon Modell and Jack Butel at the wheel of the number 96 Speedworks car. That's that car's best result of the season so far. Christian England and Andrew Evans will finish in 3rd place. And Mike Newbold and Tom Randall will complete the top 4.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race this afternoon. Mike did a great stint and brought it into the pits midway through, and yeah, I jumped back out there and I wasn't really sure of the pace of the other guys, but I mean, it was tough for me because I didn't really have a race with anyone. It was really just a race against the times, but no, I was really happy with the car. The Douglas boys have done a really good job with the car all weekend, and considering my last time in the car was 3 months ago at Brands, to be 1.1 seconds quicker than the next guy, Colin, was pretty special. It is really nice to drive. You know, it's got plenty of aero. The braking is terrific. I mean, when I was here in the Formula 3, you know, it's nearly similar braking points, and the way that I drive this car is fairly similar to the way I drove the Formula 3, and you know, we're very close to matching those sort of times. And you've got a lot of speed down the back straight, and it's always exciting to drive. There's a lot of character to this car, and you know you're not on it unless you're having moments in the rear and a bit of push in the front, and it's nice to be in like a fighter jet sort of position, and that whole fighter jet style cockpit is pretty cool.
It was good. We got a good start. Led into turn one, which is always what you want, starting from pole. Just managed to get the head down and go away a few seconds up the road. I think I pitted with a 4.5 second lead, something like that. But yeah, we've made some changes on the car this morning, and we've got some bits to work on, I think, and I think we can improve the car more. We'll come back tomorrow and see if we can get on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, it was a good race. Obviously, Christian did a great job on the first stints. He was able to put together a 4-second lead over the second place car. There's some changes that can be made on the car, and for myself, I think tomorrow we've got a good chance going on the top step.
I had a bad start. Messed up slightly coming out the last corner and then hit the limiter, so we lost the place off the line. But no, after that, settled down into the race. Slowly caught Alistair back up, and then made a move at Coram and pulled a small gap. Tried to catch Christian, but we sort of traded fastest laps and couldn't really make much of a dent into the gap he'd pulled at the start. But no, it was a good race. We lost radio just coming up to the pit window, so it was a bit interesting trying to call when to pit. I think we ended up borrowing someone's pit board and waving it in my face as we're coming down the straight. Handed the car to Jack, who did a good job bringing the car home second.
I just managed to bring it home now, but somehow at the end I managed to find an extra 2 seconds. So yeah, we're going to end up looking back and seeing why. But yeah, a great podium and a great race.
Yeah, it was good opening stint from me. Got a good start actually, which makes a nice change. And then it was just a case of managing Christian England and Devon Medell's pace. They were a little bit quicker than me at the start of the race, and by the end I was actually a bit quicker than them. So it worked well. We managed the gap, and it was a case of handing it over to Colin, who did a great job to bring it home.
Yeah, I kind of got gifted the win. I closed the gap, and I think it was 15 seconds, and I closed it down, and yeah, Evans went off at turn one, just ran wide on the dirt, so it was quite an easy pass for me. Didn't have to do anything too major, and then after that it was a case of I had a fairly big gap, and I think it was opened up to 30 or 40 seconds at one point, so I was just every lap the team were just telling me not to go for fastest lap and just bring it home, so that's what I did, so I resisted from it.
Confirmation of the results then. It's a win, their 6th of the season for Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig, with Devon Modell and Jack Butel giving Speedworks Motorsport their best finish of the year in second. Christian England and Andrew Evans finish on the podium for the first time in third, ahead of Mike Newbold and Tom Randall in fourth place, and retirement very early on for Tony Wells and Matt Bell. Join us for more after the break.
Well, I've been running a 458 challenge car for most of this season, and that's been going really well, but I need to make a decision on the next step up. So there's kind of either go a GT3 route or an LMP3 route. So we decided to test the LMP3 car out, and I got on quite well with it. Really, it's a wonderful piece of kit. I mean, it looks absolutely stunning, but it's going to be quite a challenge because it's got no ABS, no traction control, but it's the next learning step for me. So Red River Sport, who are helping me kind of with my ambitions, got the car quite recently, but not at the beginning of the season, and I wasn't quite ready to start at the beginning of the season, so we've done a bit of testing in the car. I wanted to try the car out before racing it, obviously, and got on quite well with it, so just feel that it fitted quite well in with the timetable, so that's what we're going to do. Johnny Molan will be my teammate in the car, so that's exactly what I want to do. So he's really quick. He's obviously got massive experience in prototypes. He's a great coach with the Red River Sport. They're putting together a full program, so it's just the next step up.
Have a look at the grid for race 2 of the weekend, then once more it's the number 2 car in the hands of Christian England that sits there on pole position, and alongside car number 79 will be started by Alistair McCaig. Row 2 of the grid, car number 3 started by Tony Wells, but himself and Matt Bell need a good race, and misfortune for the number 79 car of McCaig and Noble if they want to keep their championship hopes alive here at Snetterton. And alongside car number 96, the Speedworks car will be started by Jack Butel this time round. Row 3 of the grid, car number 72 will be started by Mike Newbold and taken over by Tom Randall. Lights go out, we go away and racing. A great start from Christian England, but a fantastic start by Tony Wells, who's squeezing his way up the inside of his main championship rival, Alistair McCaig, forces Alistair wide, leaves the door open. That allows Jack Butel to squeeze his way through and up into second place. So it's Christian England that leads as they head towards Wilson. Jack Butel in second place. The hard-charging Tony Wells is there in third place. So despite the good start, he still remains in exactly the same position as he was on the grid. And for Colin Noble, he's been shuffled from second down to fourth in the early stages of this one. So the fight is on, not just on track, but to keep the championship hopes alive as far as Tony Wells and Matt Bell at the wheel of the number 3 car are concerned. As Alistair McCaig has a look up the inside, then slithers his way around through Agostini, losing a little bit of time in the process. So the leading 4 heading up towards Hamilton, flicking their way in towards the left-hander, then onto the brakes and in towards the right-hander at Oggies. And well, for Alistair McCaig, doesn't matter if he finishes in 4th place. His main championship rivals are ahead of him, but they're not taking that many points away from him. So all he needs to do is hang on to their coattails, and that would be good enough, because if you finish in 4th place, you'll net yourself 12 championship points. It's 15 for third, it's 18 for second, it's 25 for the race win. There are additional points for fastest laps and pole positions as well, but all of the hard work done by Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig in the early part of the season has paid dividends. As only now, out of the pit lane, does Mike Newbold get the race underway. The Douglas Motorsport car having problems before the lights even went out, and only now joins the circuit. As up towards the conclusion of another lap of the race comes our race leading car, number 2 in the hands of Christian England, the reigning LMP3 European Le Mans champion, leads the race. Himself and Andrew Evans claiming their first podium of the season in race 1 of the weekend, and he has a handsome advantage in the early stages of this one between himself and the number 96 car of Jack Butel. 3rd and 4th though still very much together. Tony Wells under attack from his main championship rival, which is Alistair McCaig, as they turn their way through Ritchie's corner. This time Alistair McCaig a bit later on the brakes heading up towards Wilson, but he's got the outside line for the right hand hairpin. That won't quite work. If he can get good momentum coming off the corner, he might be able to sneak through elsewhere around the lap, but again here up towards Agostini, no, he's not quite close enough to try and carve his way up the inside of Tony Wells. So the number 3 car of Tony Wells still hanging on to 3rd place, and Alistair McCaig, 6 times a race winner so far this season, himself and Colin Noble, sit there in 4th place. As yet, they have not finished off the top 2 steps of the podium so far this year, as the race leader is really starting to stretch his legs now, as is Jack Butel in 2nd place. The best of the fights is for 3rd and for 4th position, still with Tony Wells at the wheel of the 2nd of the 2 United Autosports car. Of course, that retired very early on the first lap of the first race of the weekend, so another big dint in their championship aspirations means that they really need a good result here. We need to hope that the car behind suffers some problems like they did in race number 1. Again, Alistair McCaig almost side by side and overlapping with Tony Wells on the way in towards Wilson, pretty much nose to tail on the way out. Alistair McCaig looking to try and grab the inside line, but again Tony Wells has that covered, so they thread their way through the right-hander at Williams and onto the Bentley straight. Alistair McCaig looking for the inside line, then weaves back round to the outside line, perhaps trying to distract Tony Wells, who's not going to fall for that one. He's concentrating out of the windscreen rather than looking in his mirrors as to what Alistair McCaig is doing. So again, over the start-finish line, through the right-hander at Ritchie's they will go. Tony Wells still hanging on to the position, a driver who we've seen racing LMP3s and LMP2s before. He's also the reigning Radical European champion. He's having to drive the wheels off the number 3 car here to try and keep Alistair McCaig's Acuria Cost machine at bay. You can see the nose of the car bouncing around of Alistair McCaig's car as he dives onto the brakes, working the Pirelli tyres hard here. And again, he's drawn himself alongside, snatching a break up towards Wilson. Needs to be careful that he doesn't over-try and wear the tyres out, flat spot the Pirellis possibly, but he's having to do everything that he can possibly think of to try and work his way through and past what is Tony Wells. The back marker, which is Mike Newbold up the road, could be the catalyst for a bit of change here. And if Alistair McCaig could utilise this back marker, again he's side by side through Wilson. Tony Wells a little bit slower coming out of the corner this time round. They squeeze their way both immediately past Mike Newbold, who stays out of the way. He doesn't want anything to do with it, but Alistair McCaig has, through all of that, been able to unlock the door to 3rd position. So up to 3rd comes the Acuria Cost supported car. Down to 4th, despite all of his very best efforts, goes Tony Wells, but great driving between both of them. A championship fight is going on between the pair of them, and if they stay where they are, well, the championship is going the way of the Acuria Cost car. This car here, Christian England still continuing to lead the race. Himself and Andrew Evans did superbly well in the first race of the weekend. That small mistake in that spin for Andrew Evans costing them dear. Jack Butel at the wheel of the Speedworks car, running in second position. Himself and Devon Modell have had a solid weekend so far. Relative gap between the first couple of cars is, what, half a dozen seconds or so, but any mistake at all from race leader, Jack Butel is still close enough so as to try and pound. So once more onto the brakes and in towards the left-hander at Agostini. The infield element of the Snetterton 300 circuit will go. A couple of corners up the road is where we see our race leader, but in the pit lane is the Douglas Motorsport car in the hands of Mike Newbold. That car was struggling for pace early on in the race and losing time. It's now losing further time in the pit lane as over the start-finish line goes the third place car in the hands of Alistair McCaig. He will hand the car over to Colin Noble for part 2 of the race, and since taking third place away from the number 3 machine in the hands of Tony Wells, he has been able to build the advantage, and there is Tony Wells dropping ever more away from the car that ideally he needs to finish well and truly ahead of. The Douglas Motorsport car back out of the pit lane, it says in the hands of Tom Randall, but the pit window isn't open yet, so if that car has pitted and changed drivers, there will be some sort of penalty that will be issued towards that number 72 car, because the pit window, not quite as yet, is open for people to come in and conduct their mandatory driver change, which is what I'm sure Christian England will do very shortly. He's not going to do it on this lap. Back over the start-finish line he'll go. Andrew Evans will be suited and booted and ready to go. Now the pit window is open, so when Mike Newbold gave way to Tom Randall, it clearly was before the pit window opened, so some sort of penalty will be coming the way of that number 72 car. Into the pit lane comes number 79, Alistair McCaig, to hand over to Colin Noble, and also in the pit lane is the number 3 United Autosports car, which is Tony Wells vacating the car and handing it over to Matt Bell. These will be 2 of the most important pit stops all season in the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup, because it could potentially decide the outcome of the championship which is being led by the Acuria Cost car. This race, however, is being led by this car here, still safely in the hands of Christian England, car number 2. He will hand the car over to Andrew Evans, who did great things in race number 1 prior to that very small mistake which cost them really a victory. They've had the pace all weekend really, and well, Christian England has again built an advantage between himself and this car here in the hands of Jack Butel, who is about to hand it over to Devon Modell for part 2 of the race. So the Speedworks car comes in. Out of the pit lane now goes Colin Noble at the wheel of the Nielsen Racing Acuria Cost supported car. Following him out of the pit lane is number 3, which is Matt Bell at the wheel of the United Autosports car. So the squabble still for the lead of the championship is on, and as we look towards the braking area for what is Agostini, this is our race leader Christian England out front and leading the race, as yet to pit and hand the car over to Andrew Evans. In the pit lane we see Devon Modell now getting on board the number 96 Speedworks machine, and he's being strapped on board the Ligier chassis by the mechanics. Devon, who's previously raced for Speedworks in the likes of the Dubai 24 Hour, will want to put in as good a stint as Jack Butel did, his teammate, because Jack brought this car into the pit lane in second position. The minimum pit stop time for any mandatory pit stop has to be 70 seconds, plus the time to pass through the pits at the regulatory speed limit as well. So in theory, nobody should gain an advantage. Pit stop nearly done for Devon Modell. Time to catch up with our main championship protagonists in the pit lane.
Yeah, it went well. Brought the car in third. We started second actually, and got bullied by the United Autosports cars at the first corner of the first lap, which was to be expected. So dropped back a bit, but yeah, had a good fight with Tony Wells and got back past him and handed over to Colin in third.
Well, the car was lovely, and obviously it's a very tight start line at Snetterton, so reacted to the lights, and I was about 2.5 inches off Christian's rear diffuser, and obviously planning to go down the inside of Alistair, and well, Christian lifted a little bit earlier than I expected, and I bumped the back and split the diffuser. So I went down through the inside, and it was all, I don't know what really happened anyway. I ended up in third and behind Alistair, and I kept him there for a long time with some robust defending, I would say. And then when we were overtaking the lapped car, I got a bit boxed on the exit of 2. And I was down the inside, but I was like, no, I've done enough. It was too close. So, and then he didn't. I mean, considering how bad the car was, I mean, I was like a gear down in most corners. He didn't really get away, but I mean, the car would have been perfect. So, it's just one of those weekends. You know, what do you do?
great to see Tony Wells still smiling despite the obvious disappointment of what has been a very, very difficult weekend for him. And whilst mathematically the championship isn't done and dusted until the checkered flag falls, as a realist he will know that the writing is almost on the wall now in reality. So Christian England in the lead of the race turns his way out of Murray's over the start-finish line, continues for another lap. He will hand the car over very shortly to Andrew Evans. Join us for more from Snetterton after the break. Welcome back to Snetterton, where the racing continues in the 2017 Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup Championship. The race leader is in. This is Christian England that's about to vacate the number 2 United Autosports car, whilst the mechanics go to work, both adjusting the seat belts, adjusting the tyre pressures and cleaning the windscreen. And only once they've done all of that can the 19-year-old American driver, Andrew Evans, get behind the wheel of the car. We've seen great things from both of them throughout the course of this weekend, both in qualifying and in the racing. We saw them leading the race earlier on over the course of the weekend until Andrew Evans had a very small spin whilst leading coming out of Ritchie's corner, which rotated the car through 180 degrees and dropped it from the lead to ultimately finished in 3rd position, which was still its first podium visit of the season, but they'll be hoping for much, much better things in race number 2 of the weekend. Final adjustments to tyre pressures being done, the pit 2 car radio just being plugged in, and then back out onto track will go Andrew Evans, looking to try and uphold what has been fairly good stranglehold for that car over the course of this weekend. So pit stop concluded. Let's catch up with Christian England in the pit lane.
Yeah, we got another good start. We improved the car over this weekend, as I've been saying in every interview so far this weekend, but we did improve. I was able to get my head down and pull a nice gap. I'm not sure on the gap there. I think it was about 15 seconds when I pitted over to Andrew. So yeah, Andrew's been improving. Let's see if he can maintain the gap or maintain a good position to the end of the race.
So Andrew Evans pressing on in the early stages of his stint, raising the dust on the exit of Oggies so hard as he tried, bounces over the curbs down on the exit of Williams, but it's going to have to serve a stop-go penalty. The pit stop was deemed as being too short, 70 seconds plus the time to drive through the pit lane, so it is going to have to come back into the pit lane and keep its fingers crossed it gets back out on track ahead of these 2 cars fighting over 2nd and 3rd place. Devon Modell under enormous pressure from Colin Noble as the 2 of them head through Coram onto the brakes, through the left-hander at Murray's corner, and then start to squirt on the accelerator up through the gears and onto the centre straight once more. Over the start-finish line they will go, and as for Andrew Evans, he's gone into the pits, he's served the stop-go penalty and has come back out, still in the lead by the look of things. Only just though, because there, flashing through shot, go the pair for 2nd and 3rd place, so it's all starting to close up very nicely indeed. And Matt Bell in 4th place at the wheel of the 2nd of the 2 United Autosports car. Number 3 is not too far away either. So the top 4 all on the same straight together. Up towards the braking area for Agostini goes Colin Noble, trying to attack Devon Modell's car that sits just ahead as they then start to head round another lap. Again, you can see that the battle for 2nd and 3rd is closer than ever, but Matt Bell in 4th place is just dropping away a shade more by the look of things. Hasn't closed up over the course of that lap. If anything, has just lost a little bit of ground, and all of this is playing beautifully, this fight for 2nd and 3rd, into the hands of Andrew Evans, who leads the race. Tom Randall, despite all of the laps that car lost in the early stages with the problems for Mike Newbold, has just posted the fastest lap of the race that we've seen so far. And the charging Aussie, as he did in race number 1, is going to come away not with a podium, but at least an extra point for the fastest lap. The Douglas Motorsport car, Wayne Douglas and the team who prepare this car, always turn out a beautiful LMP3 car. We see them racing in the BRDC Formula 3 Championship as well over the last few years, and Tom Randall, a graduate out of that series, has adapted to sports car racing and P3 cars beautifully well. Over the start-finish line comes our race leader. Here comes Devon Modell, and what is Colin Noble for 2nd place. Colin Noble jinks out from behind, has a look up the inside heading in towards Ritchie's corner, but nothing doing there for Colin Noble. So again, he just has to tuck himself back behind. And here you can see all 4 cars for the lead of the race on the straights together. Onto the brakes, in towards Brundle, through the slightly tighter right-hander at Nelson Corner. Devon Modell having to drive a wide and Speedworks car as he possibly can, because Colin Noble is there, poised and ready to pounce, and any opportunity at all, he will be through. Again, you can see the gap between 1st and 2nd is coming down, so Andrew Evans is starting to come under a little bit of pressure from the pair behind, and well, you'd think they'd be holding each other up. They're not. They're pushing each other along at this stage, Devon Modell and Colin Noble, who has another quick look up the inside heading in towards the bomb hole. If they're not careful, they will allow Matt Bell to close ever more, because he sits there in 4th place, not too far away. So the leading 4 all concertinaing up, getting ever closer to each other. The best fight still is for 2nd and 3rd at the moment, but Matt Bell is closing to look and try and make it a trio, and all 3 of them are closing up on the race leader, Andrew Evans, who has not put a wheel wrong so far since taking over the car. Through Palmer, again, they work their way onto the straight that brings them up towards a braking area for Agostini. Ever diminishing gaps between 1st and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd, 3rd and 4th, as they turn their way through the left-hander at Agostini. Let's not forget that Tom Randall sits there in 5th place as the fastest man on the circuit at the moment as well, despite the fact that that car is several laps off the lead of the race following its mechanical woes. Again, Colin Noble closes right the way alongside Devon Modell on the approach towards Wilson, but Devon's got the inside line covered. He's neat and tidy off the exit of the corner. Down the Bentley straight they'll come, try to slipstream each other. And as long as Devon Modell just keeps an eye on his mirrors and works out exactly where Colin Noble is going on the run towards Brundle and Nelson, he should be able to defend the place. A locked brake though from Devon Modell as he turns his way through the right-hander at Nelson, putting him under an ever-increasing amount of pressure from Colin Noble. And Matt Bell has joined in to make it 3 now, fighting over 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. And this is good news for our race leader, Andrew Evans, because whilst they're squabbling, they're holding each other up now. And again, side by side up towards Ritchie's goes Devon Modell, with to his left Colin Noble, who cannot unlock the door to 2nd position. Is he able to do it as they head up towards Palmer this time through? It looks as though no, it's still Devon Modell, from then Colin Noble and then Matt Bell. They are, however, now on their final lap, and for Andrew Evans and Christian England, this could be potentially their first victory of the championship season. But look at all 4 cars, all very much together, turning their way through Ritchie's corner, onto the brakes, in towards the right-hand hairpin at Wilson. Andrew Evans leads, Devon Modell in 2nd place, Colin Noble in 3rd place, which would be enough for them to secure the championship in this race, because their main championship rival, Matt Bell, is behind them, and therefore with 2 races to go, they would already have put the championship in the book for the Scottish pairing at the wheel of the Ecuria Cost car. But for Colin Noble, forget the championship, he wants 2nd place, and he wants it off Devon Modell, the Speedworks car, the black and red car, turning its way out of Agostini now, has to take a defensive run up towards Hamilton. Jinx one way, Jinx the other, 3 of them still together for 2nd, 3rd and 4th place, and all of the time they're still closing on the race leader Andrew Evans, who I think has got just enough daylight so as to not overly panic over the course of these next few corners. So safely out of Nelson, up towards the bomb hole. It does look as though Christian England and Andrew Evans respectively are going to do just about enough here to grab their first victory of the season, but 2nd, 3rd and 4th is still up for dispute as they turn their way through Coram for the final time in towards the braking area for Murray's. It doesn't look as though Colin Noble is quite close enough towards the coattails of Devon Modell, and as they accelerate their way onto the centre straight, it is a first win of the season for the pairing of Christian England and Andrew Evans. They come through to take victory, but how close it was towards the checkered flag. 4 cars covered by what, just a matter of 2.5 seconds almost after 60 minutes of racing. What a great way to end the LMP3 Cup Championship weekend here at Snetterton. Confirmation of the results, it's a win, the first of the season for Christian England and Andrew Evans, with Devon Modell and Jack Butel in 2nd. Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig in 3rd, subject to official confirmation, will be the champions. Tony Wells and Matt Bell in 4th place, and Mike Newbold and Tom Randall complete the top 5. What a way to end the weekend.
It is, and I'm going to say it again, we did improve the car. That was the aim all weekend. We've steadily chipped away at it. We've both improved, been studying hard at the data and looking where we need to improve ourselves, not only the car, and it's paid off. We said we'd wanted to go for the win, and that's what we've done.
Oh, it was great. I mean, honestly, it was a great race. Christian did a great job getting us a good lead in the start of the race, which really made the drive-through penalty not as hard as it could have been. I mean, really close race at the end. Just really glad that we can be on the top step.
Your heart must have sank when you left the pits thinking, great, we've got a good lead here, and then got the notice of the drive-through. How were your nerves then?
It was pretty scary looking in your mirrors going, there's 3 or 4 cars back there following you. But really, the team did a great job. The car really performed and really stuck. So honestly, it's something that's been coming for a long time. Just glad it all came together this weekend.
No, it was good. Great start to the race. Managed to get from 4th to 2nd in the first corner. There was a little bit of contact between the two front runners, but yeah, just managed to get past and control the pace and make sure there was enough tyres left for Devon for when he got in.
As we come out in 2nd, we had a small gap to the guys behind and an unclosable gap to the leader. Fortunately, they got I say fortunately, it was for us anyway, they got a drive-through which gave us a chance. It was very hard to hold the car behind and keep the pace up trying to catch, but we managed to do both until caught the lead and made a small mistake that cost us a chance of having a go at him. But no, it was just hard work then defending from then on.
You've taken the Sunoco fastest lap of the weekend, so congratulations. Tell us how it's gone.
Thank you. Yeah, the car's been great all weekend. Today in the race, Mike struggled a bit and he thought there was a bit of an issue, so I hopped in the car early. But for me, everything felt pretty good. So yeah, it was nice to get the quickest lap today and also the fastest lap yesterday. But yeah, nice to grab another Sunoco trophy for sure. And yeah, can't thank Mike enough for the opportunity and all the guys at Douglas Motorsport for a great car.
Yeah, absolutely over the moon. It's great to win it in its first year, and it's great for Nielsen Racing and Acuria Cost to win it in the first year too. So we're absolutely over the moon and looking forward to the Michelin Cup next year now.
Excellent. Yes, Colin, the prize is a free entry into the Michelin Le Mans Cup next season. You must be excited about that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Competing in some of the European tracks next year will be really exciting. And doing it with Alistair, we've worked really well together this year and been a really enjoyable year. And the results have come as well. So yeah, and the team, they've done a great job right from the start. So yeah, a lot of hard work been put in from everyone.
Fantastic year to win a championship for Acuria Cost, given the anniversary that you guys are celebrating. So you must be extra happy about that.
Yeah, it's 60 years since we won Le Mans. So to win to win a championship in their 60th anniversary of Le Mans is fantastic for Acuria Costs and for our sponsors and everyone that's been involved all year.
Let's have a look at the championship standings with 2 races at Donington Park still to come. Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig have an unassailable lead in the championship. They are the inaugural LMP3 Cup champions. In second place is Tony Wells and Matt Bell, but 51 points behind them with 54 available is Jack Butel and the Speedworks team. Christian England, Andrew Evans and CJ Wilson, who shared that car in the United Autosports team, are in 4th place with Mike Newbold and Tom Randall in 5th, and Richard Dean and Sarah Moore, the Tockworth pairing, are there in 6th position. That's all from Snetterton. Join us next time out at Donington Park.